Okay, let's start with a puzzle. Imagine two brand new chartered accountants. They went to the same college, they got pretty much the same marks, but one of them lands a job for 8 lakhs a year, and the other, a whopping 14 lakhs. So, how is that even possible? That's the 6 lakh rupee question we're going to dig into today. It all comes down to the premium price of clarity.
Let's just put it right out there so you can see it. On one side, you've got candidate A, starting at a solid 8 lakhs per annum. Not bad at all. But then look at candidate B, pulling in a 14 lakh package. I mean, that is a huge 6 lakh difference right from the get-go. So you have to ask yourself, what on earth could possibly justify a gap that big?
And here's what makes it a real head-scratcher. Like I said, same college, similar marks. They even cleared their exams in the same number of attempts. If you just look at their resumes, they're practically identical. So, where is this massive difference in value actually coming from? That's the question we're here to answer.
All right, let's get into our first section. We're calling it the 6 lakh question. Now, the insights I'm about to share aren't just theory. This comes from over 15 years of actually sitting in the interview chair, hiring CA freshers for huge companies like Infosys, Wipro, and HCL. So this is the real story of what actually goes on behind the scenes.
So, first things first, let's get rid of some common misconceptions. You might think this huge salary gap is because one person had a top ICAI rank, right? Nope, it's not about that. Or maybe it's the big fancy firm name on their articleship certificate. Wrong again. And here's the surprising one. It's not even about one candidate just being a little bit smarter or having more technical knowledge. Those things, they're just not the real deal breakers.
Okay, so if it's not the rank, not the firm, and not just pure book smarts, then what is it? Well, that leads us right into our second section, beyond the certificate. This is where we get to the heart of it, the one core thing that truly separates these two candidates.
And here it is, the fundamental difference, laid bare. The 8 lakh candidate, they absolutely knew the concepts. Their technical knowledge was solid, no question. But the 14 lakh candidate could do something more. They could take that exact same knowledge and communicate it. They could explain it clearly, they could defend their points, and they could do it all while under the pressure of a tough interview. That single ability to perform when the heat is on, that's the absolute game changer.
So what does this high-value skill set actually look like in the real world? Well, it's things like this. It's being able to explain a variance in the numbers, clearly and to the point, without the interviewer having to ask you 3 different times. It's the skill to build an Excel model that a CFO could actually look at and use to make a real decision. It's about discussing numbers not just as, well, numbers on a page, but in terms of what they mean for the business. And it's having the cool-headedness to get a curveball question and not just freeze up. Oh, and it's also about having the confidence to ask smart questions back to the interviewer. That shows you're really thinking, not just reciting.
This all leads us to our third section, which I call the corporate premium. It's the big why. Why are companies willing to shell out so much extra cash for these specific skills? Let's break it down.
And here's a hard truth you really need to understand. Corporates don't pay a premium for your CA certificate. I'll say that again. They don't. Think of that certificate as your entry ticket. It gets you through the door and into the interview room for sure, but it is not what gets you the premium salary.
So, if not the certificate, then what do they pay for? It really boils down to 3 things. They're paying a premium for your confidence, for the clarity of your communication, and for your commercial thinking, your ability to see the business behind the numbers.
Maybe the best way to put it is like this. The CA exam, it tests what you know. It's all about knowledge. But the interview, that tests who you are when the pressure is on. See the difference? It's a total shift from just checking your technical knowledge to seeing if you have the composure and the practical skill to actually use it.
Okay, so now we know what recruiters are really looking for, what they really value, which, of course, brings us to the most important question. How do you actually develop these skills? And that's exactly what we're going to tackle in our 4th section, bridging the value gap.
Look, here's a really simple 3-step blueprint you can follow. Step 1, stop just reading your technical material. You have to start speaking about the numbers. Seriously, verbalize the concepts. Try explaining a balance sheet out loud to an empty room if you have to. Step 2, learn how to build financial models. Don't just know how to audit them. You've got to get your hands dirty, build them from scratch, and really understand the logic. And finally, step 3, always look for the business context. Try to understand how the work your finance team does actually helps the company make bigger strategic decisions.
So we've pinpointed the skills that are worth a premium, and we've laid out the steps to build them. That really just brings us to one final, simple question. Are you ready?
And we come full circle right back to this number, 6 lakh rupees. That massive gap we talked about at the beginning. I know it can look pretty intimidating, but if there's one thing I want you to take away from all this, it's that this gap is bridgeable. It's not permanent. It's not something that was decided by your exam score. It's an opportunity, one that you can absolutely close with the right kind of preparation.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. That huge gap between 8 lakhs and 14 lakhs, it's not really about what you know, it's all about how you show what you know. And that brings up the real question you need to ask yourself. Are you just preparing to pass an exam, or are you preparing to win an interview? Because that, right there, is the difference that truly matters.